Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Melinda Hart. You are watching Stamping with Hart. I am an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up, and you can find more information about the projects that I create on my blog at www.stampingwithhart.blogspot.com. I will also have all of the information related to today's video and where you can find me on social media down in the description box below. There are several links in the description box below. So today we are talking about holiday cards, but in the sense of past Christmas. So these could apply to Christmas, but what I had in mind was more of a holiday theme or even a New Year's theme. So a question that I had asked last year was, do you make cards specifically for New Year's? Do you celebrate New Year's? And the majority of people had answered that they do not. And I would love to hear from you in the comments if you do this or if you don't do this, where you offer separate cards for New Year's from Christmas, or do you just kind of cover the bases of the holidays, which a lot of our Christmas sets will say Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, or Happy Holidays, or have a great season, a holiday season. So you can let me know in the comments. So I wanted to design cards that I felt were more celebratory towards New Year's, but also covered holiday, winter, and that creates a sort of product mashup where I'm kind of pulling from different stamp sets and things like that, which is what we're going to be doing today. And I'll walk you through everything that I used. But the three cards that you are actually seeing on the table, those cards have something called metallic and shimmer specialty paper on them. And I had made those in advance of this video and did not realize that the metallic and shimmer paper sold out. So on the live version, I decided to swap that out for the festive foils specialty paper. So I ended up doing 3 different cards, but using the same stamp sets. So that's what I'm talking about right now. The stamp sets that we're going to be using, and here's a look at the festive foils. Festive foils is currently 60% off. It is part of something called our last chance list. It was originally $10, but you can now get it for $4. So I highly recommend it. For those of you who are familiar with Stampin' Up! Colors, it's gold, cherry cobbler, and soft succulent for the festive foils, which are just gorgeous colors and cover multiple holiday occasions and even every day as well, even with the foil patterns that you see on that paper. So we're going to be using a stamp set called Bottled Happiness, and you can get that just as the stamp set, or you can get it as part of a bundle. The Bottled Happiness bundle has a bottle punch. So that is something really cute to keep in mind if you like those themes. I love the Bottled Happiness stamp set. I think it's so cute. I particularly love the sentiments. So that's something you can consider. I thought that that would be perfect for sort of a holiday New Year's type theme where we're not specifically using the phrase New Year's on the card. The other thing that I wanted to do was create a winter theme, and the quickest way to do that is with snowflakes. So I am using the Season of Chic Snowflake. So this is a stamp set that covers different seasons, and as part of it, they have a stamp set and a bundle for Season of Chic, and you can get a snowflake stamp, and then they also have snowflake dies as part of that bundle. I am only using the stamp today. The other thing that I wanted to show off as part of the holiday card series that we're working on here are the Metallics Heat Embossing Powders. So when you purchase embossing powders from Stampin' Up, you actually get them in packs of 3. They have the basics and the metallics. And the metallics are what we're working with today. And the metallics come in copper, silver, and gold. Now I am using my heat tool to heat set this. We're using Versamark ink to do our stamping, and then the heat embossing powder, if you're not familiar, sticks to the Versamark ink, which is like a sticky textured ink. And then I use something called an embossing buddy. It's an anti-static tool. It has like a powdery feel to it. You just run that across the card base or the layer before you do your stamping. And that will help give a really nice clean look, and it will prevent the powder from sticking to anything except for the ink, which is what we want. Now, this stamp is very detailed, it's beautiful, very thin lines. So just make sure that your heat tool gets everything. You might want to do, just an overall pass to make sure you've got it all. So this is our Evening Evergreen cardstock, which is my favorite green that Stampin' Up! Currently has. This is part of an in color collection, 2021 to 2023. And so I'm doing the same snowflake background on each one of these card bases, but each one is in a different metallic. So it's the same pattern, the same stamping. This is going to be silver. So I was really curious to see what silver looked like on Evening Evergreen, and I have to tell you, I absolutely love it. And if you look at the card off to the left, which were the original set of cards that I had created, which that's also the silver version of the card, I did that on gray granite. So you can decide whether or not you want a darker card base or more of a neutral tone card base. And I think that the silver looks spectacular on both. But it's entirely up to you, right, in terms of what you want to do for theme. So same thing here. You can see I'm just heat setting this. Now, one thing I did want to shout out for, cardstock and card bases and things like that. If you ever get tired of using basic white or very vanilla, which are probably like our two most common, neutral basics kind of cardstocks in terms of having, light colored card bases, you could go to the neutrals collection and check out those colors too. I think gray granite is such a great neutral as a card base. I also love Sahara sand as a card base. So there are different options out there, and you can shout out and let me know which ones that you like. The entire Subtles collection would pretty much be a great card base if you're looking for the lighter color cards, outside of basic white. Now here we are doing a basic white card base, and this is going to be gold. Now, Stampin' Up! Sells the gold embossing powder in that trio of metallics, but I messed up my gold embossing powder. I'm not sure what I did to it. So I'm going to be supplementing a different gold, heat emboss powder in this video. So if you have any questions, you can let me know, but I just wanted to let you know since the container is different and all of that. But the Stampin' Up! Gold is very similar to this one. I do have to replace that. But anyway, we're going to do this snowflake background again. So I am also going to be heat embossing the metallic colors for the bottles, because I want the bottles from Bottled Happiness stamps to match and coordinate with the backgrounds. And that's entirely optional. You can decide, what you prefer. I was mentioning here that when you're stamping the Versamark ink on white, it can be hard to see, and you might have some slight overlap, which you can see I did there. But I think that white and gold is one of just those absolute classics. Now, if you prefer traditional snowflakes, so let's say you wanted to do white snowflakes as your background, a heat emboss background on all of these card bases, then you could do that. They have the basics embossing powders, and that comes in black, white, and clear. And I use white heat embossing powder, all the time. The other thing that I was mentioning was Stampin' Up! Carries, and I actually haven't gotten it myself yet, but I really need to. Oh, here are our three metallics, which I was trying to show everybody. So we have our gold, our silver, and our copper. I think that our copper really looks a lot like rose gold. It is a really pink tone. Sometimes I feel like copper can look a little orangey, just depending on what you're looking at. But this is really a cooler copper tone in that heat emboss powder. So now what I'm doing is I'm laying down my festive foils. It comes in 3 different colors. I wanted to match the yellow and gold to white, the cherry cobbler layer to the evening evergreen, and then the soft succulent to the cherry cobbler card base. And I'm bringing in, they're called rectangle stitched dies. This is one of those sort of everyday die sets that you'll use, circles, rectangles, squares, all that. The stitch rectangles, I use them all the time. Now, there were 2 sizes that I liked for the bottle. There's that sort of middle size rectangle, which, you know, you still have some white space around the bottle there. And then I have that slightly thinner rectangle, which you're seeing on the Evening Evergreen card base. And that one is a really snug fit to the bottle. And I wanted to show both, you know, so you could decide which one you wanted to use. I did the same thing on the cards for my sample cards. And I actually really liked the snug fit one, the snug fit rectangle. They both look great. And it's up to you, but they fit on both. So we're now using the Versamark ink on this bottle stamp. And this bottle stamp is, technically it's like a fill stamp, right? Like it's a thick, there's a lot of ink that transfers to your paper here. So you just want to make sure you get a good amount of the Versamark ink on there when you stamp. And then of course we're going to be doing our heat embossing with all three metallic colors again. So I was trying not to mess this up. I made such a mess on my table. But this is just a piece of scrap paper that will catch the powder. The accessory kit that I was talking about, the embossing accessory kit that Stampin' Up! Sells, is this tray that has a funnel in it. So it will catch your powder and very neatly transfer it back to whatever container you use for your embossing powders. It has a little tweezer on there that you can hold so that you won't burn your fingers when you're holding it, like you see me doing there. And it also has a little anti-static tool in there. So I highly recommend that kit. If heat embossing isn't something that you've started using yet, I highly recommend it. It feels magical when you're doing the heat embossing. I love heat embossing all the time, but I particularly love it for holiday projects. And you guys can let me know in the comments if you heat emboss regularly. I had just very recently done a video where we were using the masking paper, and I had this one person comment and say to me that she owns it. She owns the masking paper, but she was too intimidated to use it, that she was finishing up her holiday cards and then she would give it a try. And comments like that, they just kind of make my day, because I just love hearing when people say, you know what, maybe I haven't used it yet, but I'm going to try. And I think that happens a lot with the techniques and the tools, just like you see with heat embossing. So is that something that you have to do all the time? No, but I would say don't be intimidated by it. If you haven't tried it yet, give it a try. And if you have tried it and you love it, let me know. So we have something called foam adhesive sheets. It's basically like a gigantic dimensional. So if you have our Stampin' Up! Dimensionals, it's just this foam. They're cut in the shapes of hexagons, and then you can pop them onto the back of your projects. And sometimes if you want a little more coverage like I did here, you can use a foam adhesive sheet. I think there's either 2 or 3 sheets that come in a pack, and they are awesome. Okay, so that was and you can just cut it to whatever size you need to fit your rectangle or your layer. I love them. Now here are our regular Stampin' Dimensionals. We'll be using plenty of those too. I tend to use a lot of adhesive. That's just kind of my thing, but it's totally up to you. Now on this particular layout where my white rectangle is kind of half off of the festive foil layer, I used dimensionals on the one side, and on the side that I knew was going to be flat to the layer that's already up on dimensionals, I just used a little bit of seal. So it's up to you, but I just wanted to kind of even that out. I didn't want it to look kind of lopsided by having dimensionals on dimensionals. You know what I mean? So here I did 2 where the rectangles were centered on the card, and then I did 1 where it was off center. Again, just for different ideas and layouts, and it's totally up to you. Now on the original cards, I had used Season of Chic and I had used Bottled Happiness for my sentiments. Sending Cheer, Peace and Joy, I think, is from a different stamp set, and the Love You is from Season of Chic. Yeah. So what I ended up doing with these cards was I brought in sentiments from a set called Trimming the Tree. I absolutely love the fonts and the sentiments from that stamp set. I love the tree too. But I particularly wanted to use Happy Holidays, Peace and Joy, and then I think I did Happy Holidays in Cherry Cobbler, I should say. And I just turned these into little banner sentiments. So that was one thing that I wanted to point out. So with a lot of the imagery that you see, I had used Season of Chic for the snowflake. I'd used Bottled Happiness for the bottles, and now I'm using Trimming the Tree for the sentiments. So technically 3 different stamp sets. You use whatever you have. It's that time of year where we are transitioning out of one catalog and we are transitioning to a new catalog in January. And it can get tricky with product because everything is either selling out, particularly when it hits the clearance rack or the last chance list. And as much as I try to keep up with it, when I'm trying to make projects in advance so that I'm ready for my Facebook Lives, I do not always catch it. And that was basically what happened with the metallic and shimmer. So there's always specialty paper in your collection that you can use, whether it's shimmer paper, glimmer paper, metallic paper, foil, foil accented paper like what we're seeing here. Whatever you have on hand. That snowflake vellum paper comes to mind, which is also gone at this point. That was the banners pick-a-punch that I used to create the banners here. But you can see, the way that these came together. There's so much sparkle and shimmer to them. And I wanted to finish off with a really cool embellishment. And I have to say, I love the pearlized enamel effects. I just love this stuff. It comes as a 3-pack in 3 colors, white, black, and red. The black is technically a silver color. So what I'm doing here is I'm just piping on the red to our evening evergreen card. And Heather, who was on my live with me, she had mentioned that if you use the white or if you use these on stamps, so if you stamp an image in a color and then you pipe this on top of it, it might absorb that color. So she was just letting us know just to be careful with that. So I'm mostly going around the stamps here on the cardstock, but if you do happen to put a pearl on a stamp, just be aware that it might change the color of it. I have not personally had that happen, but I was glad that she let me know, and I wanted to let all of you know. So thank you for that, Heather. And now I am finishing up my gold card. Use whatever gold embellishments you have on hand. These sequins are also gone, but the pearlized enamel effects are still available and carrying over. And you can be very generous with the pearlized enamel effects because there's so much in the bottle and you only use a very small amount of it. So those were the 3 cards that I used with festive foils. And now here I'm bringing in those original cards that I had done with the metallic and shimmer. So if you are one of the people who already owns the metallic and shimmer paper and you're looking for ways to use it, here you go. And if you have the festive foils paper, there you go. If you don't have festive foils, it is 60% off. I will have a full list of the products used in today's video on my blog. You can get that link in the description box below. I'll have some quick shop links in the description below if you're looking particularly for the stamp sets or something like that. But you can find everything, including cardstock, adhesives, everything that I use on my blog. Now, if you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, I would love to have you subscribe. I do crafting tutorials each week. If you are a fan of Paper Pumpkin like I am, I do Paper Pumpkin alternatives every week. And at the end of this Facebook Live, I decided to show the Good Things cards and envelopes, which is what you're looking at here. This is an add-on for the December Paper Pumpkin kit, which I'm still waiting for. It hasn't come in the mail yet, but it should be here soon. And sometimes Paper Pumpkin will do an add-on, which means they create a coordinating product and you have the choice whether or not you want to purchase it to use it with that month's kit. And I have to say, this is one of the most versatile add-ons I've ever seen from them. You get 20 cards and envelopes for, I think it's $10. You have to be an active Paper Pumpkin subscriber to purchase this, but wow, is it worth it. We have all of these fabulous neutrals and subtle colors here. We have the basic gray, we have the balmy blue, we have the mint macaron, I think it's blushing bride. I love that we have coordinating envelopes to go with it. So one of those things to keep in mind. I will have information in the description box below for Paper Pumpkin as well, including information for the Good Things cards and envelopes add-on, and then for the January kit, which you need to subscribe to by January 10th, which is a love theme for those of you who enjoy Valentine's Day or celebrating love themes and occasions. There is going to be an add-on for that too. These are really beautiful heart boxes. And I'll pop a picture up here if you are interested in seeing what those look like. And the add-on is available for purchase right now. And then the paper pumpkin kit, you sign up by January 10th and it will ship out on the 11th, and you'll get it around anywhere between the 16th and like the 20 something of the month. So just something to keep in mind there. Paper pumpkin works 1 month ahead, which is why the February holiday is celebrated in the January kit. And it doesn't have to be for Valentine's Day, but just something to keep in mind. All right, thank you so much for being here. Enjoy and stay tuned for the next video.